Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome back to Estrogen Filled Month. This time I'm doing a sequel. No, it's not Look Who's Talking To. I'm going to do that next time. It's a sequel to one of the most popular franchises now that came out in the late '90s, in the mid '90s, and now it's gotten two sequels. This is the 2019 fantasy adventure comedy directed by Jake Kasdan, co-written by Jeff Pickner, and Scott White Rosenberg. It's a sequel to the 2017 hit Jumanji: The Next Level from 2019. Yeah, I finally got to see this last year, so I was able to see it. And while it does have some issues with like the last movie, it's still entertaining to watch. This sequel actually has a returning cast from the first film, The Rock, and etc. And you also have new people in it. You have Danny Glover, Danny DeVito, Rory McCann, and Aquafina as some of the new additions to the film. And basically, yeah, the film's plot takes place 2 years after Welcome to the Jungle, which surprised me. I don't think it's that bad. There's problems, but it's not the worst movie ever made. In which the same group of teenagers, along with an old friend and two unwilling additions, become trapped in Jumanji. There, they all find themselves facing new problems and challenges with both old and new avatars, while having to save the land from a new villain in order to escape. And basically, there's a lot of stuff that's in the movie that's like reminiscent of other films that I've seen. Like, there's a scene where ostriches are chasing them that was straight out of Jurassic Park. There. I'm not kidding. There's like a flashback that looks like Game of Thrones. I'm like, holy shit! They ripped off Game of Thrones, and it was the same year that the finale happened. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And like I said, the cast still has the chemistry from the last film. The film, yeah, they said it was a step down. It's basically the second movie again, just with a little bit. The characters just do weird accents in this one. That's one of the issues I had with the film. No, there's no stupid dance this time, like in the second movie. But when The Rock goes, when what's his name, Xander or Smolder, when he goes back to Jumanji, like this time, instead of talking like, "Oh, I got muscles," or whatever, The Rock does a weird Jewish accent in the movie. I'm like, Danny DeVito is Italian. He's not Jewish. He's a Jersey Italian bred American. He's not Jewish. He's like, "Oh my God, my hips feel like butter," and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is a terrible accent." Like, if this was a voice acting gig, it would be fine. But it's just he sounds laughable. And Kevin Hart the whole time, instead of being Danny Glover, he's like, "I'm getting too old for this shit." He does the whole movie sounding like a black slave from the 1800s with "what in tarnation" and all that. It's too much. It's too much. He's very downgraded. I mean, granted, I don't want Kevin Hart screaming a lot like in the first movie. Jack Black is supposed to sound black, and yeah, again, it's just him, "sun, sand, it is hot out here," and I'm like, no, this is too much. I don't know why you weren't offended by this, Josh, because they're trying to pretend to be something that they're not, and I'm like, I know that's what acting is, but it just with The Rock, it was too much. It was cartoonish. The only one who doesn't do a weird accent in the movie is Karen Gillian, and that's only because she's the character from the last movie. There's one scene where she switches bodies with Jack Black, and she's supposed to sound blacker, but it's you forget it even happens. They go into this water to change bodies later in the film. But yeah, Aquafina does a good impression of Danny DeVito. Like she was great. Like I think she's a good new addition as Ming Fleetfoot. She's Asian, yes, but she's actually really interesting in the film. She's a much more interesting character than the new Mulan. She has emotion. There's a lot of scenes in the action sequences when she's like, emotional, and she really works. She starts off in the body. It's Spencer, I think, from the first movie. Yeah, and yeah, there's other people in the movie. Like the villain, I thought was way better in this one. I didn't like Bobby Cannavale in the first film. He was just too. He was trying to do this weird accent, had a eye and like bugs rolling on his face, like he's Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas. It just didn't do it for me. This villain is more like a Scottish, like Game of Thrones villain or a character from Thor or something like that. He was fine. You had a black horse in the movie as well. You have a cameo from BB Newirth. Yes, Nora Shepherd from the first movie. So that was good. That if they brought her back, I would like to see Judy and Peter later in a fourth movie because the ending. There's a post credit scene where if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to spoil a few things. Basically the animals and the Jumanji comes to the real world, kind of like in the first film, which is a good idea because that's what I love about the first film, that the board game brings stuff from the game into the real world. So I like that. And also the rest of the younger cast, like Alex Wolff and Morgan Turner and Sir Darius Blaine and Madison Iceman, they're fine. They just don't have a lot of screen time. But I think because they're in the real world now, The Rock and them will just be separate entity avatars of them instead of just doing weird accents. The one actor I didn't like in the movie, I know Josh, he loves all women. I'm not gonna bash him on that. The one actress that could have been cut out of this movie was Danya Ramirez. She's not needed in the movie. She plays a Spaniard stereotype with a red flaming dress, and she kisses The Rock, and I'm like, why? You're not needed in the movie. You're just a plot device to get to the next part. The action's cool. It did make me laugh. Like The Rock, every time he punches somebody and they're flying across the street, I'm like, The Rock is a superhero. He's basically Black Adam in this movie. It doesn't sound like him, but he can do crazy things, and he just punches somebody and they fly 20 feet in the air. It's just hilarious, and the movie made me laugh. Yeah, there were some jokes that made me laugh. The stupid adult jokes, it's Sony. You know how they are. They like to put stupid pissing jokes and penis jokes and all that. That's not needed. That could be cut out. Uh, like I said, the film is a lot of fun. It's short. It's not too long. It's 2 hours and 3 minutes. It's basically an hour and 50. It didn't drag ass like some of the DC movies I've seen. It also, like I said, it had some charm to it. I did like those mandrakes, the monkeys that jump on the bridge. That scene was pretty cool because it's like a video game. So I'm not gonna say it defies logic. It's a game. The original one was a board game. This is a video game. So when they fall and die and and they come back, I'm like, it's a game, guys. I get it. And I'm glad that the movie didn't get pushed because of COVID. Because last year it came out in 2019, so right before, a few months before they happened here. The audience poll was a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. It says, yeah, like many classic games, Unity retains core components of what came before, but adding some fresh things to keep things playable. Yeah, I just still don't like the British guy that played the tourist from the last movie. I think he's annoying. Like I said, they did put the song from the second movie, but this time Karen Gillan's not doing a stupid dance. She's just beating people up because they have to give her stuff to do, and she's fine. Aquafina's good in the film. She has some fight scenes in there. Yeah, Rory McCann is Jurgen the Brutal. He looks like a Game of Thrones character. He was in Game of Thrones. Yeah, he was Sandor the Hound Clegane in Game of Thrones. So all my friends that have seen that show know that he was in that. That's why he's in a castle and he has a beard and he has these weird speeches. It's a Game of Thrones knockoff. They have to go to a castle in the middle of the game and to find something. And I'm like, yeah, and it reminded me of Game of Thrones. But there's no CGI dragons or anything like that. It's mostly just animals from like the first movie, like a snake and freaking the ostriches and the mandrills and I think crocodiles or whatever. Yeah, but like I said, the film's fun. Like, is it boring? No. I'd rather see all of these Jumanji movies over the rehash trilogy any day because these sequels don't hurt the first movie. They don't kill off Alan Grant like Alan Parrish, excuse me, Alan Grant's Jurassic Park. They don't kill off characters from the original. They don't shit on the original. They respect the original. They keep the continuity and it does its own thing. So at least I can give these movies that credit. They're not remaking the first movie. They're doing their own thing. This one is very similar to the second one, but it still has a few things that were added that I do like. So and it had a better villain, Aquafina, and it was a lot. There wasn't as much stupid Sonyisms as in the second one. There were problems, like I said. You could have cut out Danya Ramirez. She's not needed. Lamorne Morris was the heater repairman. He's barely in the movie. Um, Danny DeVito, I wish he was in it more. I know he's old, but like I said, he's like, getting old sucks. And I'm like, yeah, but it has a nice message at the end. Like, having years of experience can lead, to a better tomorrow and, to, appreciate the life that you do have because one day it'll be gone. But the film is fine. Like, I didn't hate it. It's decent. It's not as good as the first movie, but I still like it better than any of the rehash trilogy or the freaking spinoffs because at least They do their own thing. They're not remaking a classic, which is what I hated about those films. And while I'm not crazy about some of the cast members, even from the second movie, like Nick Jonas, he's just there because he was in the second one. Um, Alex Wolf and them, yeah, they're fine. It goes by quick. It doesn't feel like it takes forever, and it's not as bad as The Mummy from 2017. That movie was terrible. That was a world building movie that doesn't know how to do it right, and it has no heart, no soul, and is boring, and had too much in it. This has some things that could have been cut out, but it's just my taste. I just would skip the scene with the freaking boombox. I didn't like that in the first film, in the first sequel, and Danya Ramirez because she's not needed. She adds nothing to the plot, and she could have easily been cut out just to save on pacing. But it doesn't drag ass. At least I can give it that. So thanks for watching, guys. My review of Jumanji: The Next Level had two women in it in supporting roles, but they're still in it. And yeah, it's my opinion. I just think the movie's not as terrible as some people thought, and it is what it is. You could take it or leave it. I take it because I'd rather see this than episode 9, because at least it's a third movie in a trilogy that doesn't shit on the first film. And it continues the story. It doesn't go in circles. And the new additions actually serve a purpose. They're not just thrown in there to fill time. And it's much shorter. So, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.